Hello, welcome back to The Big Show. I'm here with the organizers of Demfest. Can you guys introduce yourself?
My name is Steven. I am on Demarest Hall's Hall Government, and I am the lead organizer for Demfest.
And my name is Ricardo. I am the treasurer for Demarest Hall, and I was mostly in charge of just running a lot of the stuff that was going on in the background for Demfest, keeping track of our fundraising and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Well, thank you for being on the show. So you guys just hosted your annual charity concert, Demfest. Can you explain a little bit more about the event and how it went this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, it went really, really well. Very proud of ourselves, especially considering there were some circumstances that were not ideal. But, you know, we made it through. We were flexible, worked around it. Demfest is our second year in a row doing it. 9 bands, 4 p.m. to midnight, basically. And we do a bunch of little, you know, fundraising things on the side, like Ricardo mentioned, where all the proceeds go to a local charity, New Brunswick Tomorrow. They do a lot of great work in the greater New Brunswick community. So last year we estimated turnout of like 800 to 1,000 people. I'd say this year it was the same or more. So yeah, very proud.
Yeah. It was a lot of just kind of running around, but I think last year, how much did we raise just for the charity?
$1,000.
Yeah, so we reached roughly the same amount this year.
A little more.
A little more, yeah.
So you mentioned that some things didn't go as planned. I was going to actually touch on it. Like, when did you guys start planning for the event?
The first time we started putting pen to paper was probably Halloween weekend, so late October for a mid-April event. And that, you know, because we're trying to get so many like bands and big names and stuff, a lot of it is you got to start asking early, even just solidifying the date and getting them to block out their calendars, especially because we also had a rain date, and we want to ensure that if we go to the rain date, there's still a show to be had. So
Yeah.
I guess 6 months in advance is pretty much the start time.
Okay, so what's the process like of planning and then putting it together at the end?
I mean, the first thing is picking the date, then bands, then there's a ton of little stuff that goes into it. Like every year we do a custom T-shirt with each of the band's logos that says like Demfest. You know, it's a sort of a memorabilia type thing for people. But you got to start the design for that early. You got to start the program early. You got to make all the advertising stuff. Our Instagram is filled with really fantastic work from he's going to be outreach coordinator next year at Dem. His name is Aiden Salandi. He's working on still a Demfest recap post literally as we speak right now. He's fantastic. Yeah, figuring out the times of the bands, since a lot of them have, you know, real jobs, adult jobs. Got to figure out like, well, these people have to leave because they got to get up early in the morning, but this guy only could come after 6 p.m. because he works in Philadelphia. So blah, 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 blah. And then it all kind of falls into place around February-ish.
And how well would you say the plan was executed in the end?
It was, I will say the main hiccup that Steven alluded to but didn't quite mention was the day of, we were told by Rutgers that there was some like complications with the sound equipment we were using and some regulations that we had to follow, and that delayed us about like an hour and a half.
Yeah, they told us we couldn't do the show till we fixed some things, which was frustrating, but we had an hour and 20-minute break worked into the show, so we cut the break and moved everything back and got it sorted out.
But those kinds of precautions are kind of like what let it keep going smoothly. Like even with that, we were, again, like that hour and a half break meant that we were just kind of keep going. It will obviously just like help like talking to the bands, like just running things back.
Yeah.
So how did you guys choose this year's artist for the fest?
Discussing this year's is like hard to do without talking about last year's. For last year, when we first did it, we said we wanted the 3 active alumni bands that we still knew about in the area. So, and then we offered it to any band that had played at any of our other events that year, but didn't live in the building. The rest of them were just favorite acts of ours from around New Brunswick and even Connecticut. And then we just kind of made our all-star lineup for New Brunswick basement shows, which was a treat for me because I got to pick like my favorite acts. You know, scheduling conflicts still made it so that not everyone could do it, but we were really, really happy with the lineup we got, especially because, like I said earlier, everyone was so flexible and super, super friendly on the day of, and with all the like advertising and prep going into it.
So what would you say is your favorite thing about planning Demfest?
A lot of it is just throwing out ideas that I really loved, because I remember we started thinking about different ways to fundraise, because last year, again, everyone was getting their footing. We didn't know exactly how we were going to organize it. And then this year we're like, okay, so we had a few things that we did just to kind of promote, but we also want to do more things at the event. And then I think conceptualizing was very fun because we had a massive list of ideas that we do for fundraising. The ones that we ended up going with was selling snow cones and then making popcorn.
So the thing I'm really proud of ended up being one of my best friends. We call him Mom. If you've been to a Dem event, you probably know him because he runs sound for everything. He does stand-up at every one of our coffee houses, and he is generally fantastic. We auctioned off a night with Mom, quote-unquote, with under the premise that he's really good at making pizza. He loves making pizza and will make you pizza. So that ended up raising us an extra $100. So I'm really proud of that. And the person who ended up buying it is someone we both know, but did not know that well. And we were like, we should get to know that guy better. And then he won the night with Mom. So.
Wow. So now I ask you what your favorite thing is. What would you say is the most challenging part of planning Demfest?
Organization is interesting because we'll talk over what we need and then how we're going to do it. Me personally, I was in charge of Treasurer's booth for the night, and I had a lot of people with me. Obviously, it was at minimum, it was like a 3-person job at any given moment. And then figuring out scheduling, figuring out like how long we needed people there for, figuring out who is going to be handling what, that kind of stuff just gets very complicated very quickly. Planning is one thing, action's another thing, and then there's only so much that we can plan for before we got to be like, well, we got to do a little bit of improvising on the day of, because even if we plan right now, we don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, feet on the ground can be one of the hardest things to plan. I have a list currently of everyone who helped, and it's 55 people long. So we are eternally grateful to everyone, all of our residents and non-residents who helped out. We had like a big, Google sheet of, we need people to help with the treasure booth. We need people to help with setup. We need people who can help like kind of chaperone the bands around and help them with whatever they need. So we had been getting people to sign up for that for weeks, and then setup on the day of Demfest started at like 9 to 10 a.m. We took a break kind of like 1:30 to 3 just because it was so hot. And then we finished cleaning up around 2:30 a.m. The heat leads me to what the other really challenging thing this year was, which was, like, obviously we keep an eye on the weather because it's an outdoor show. We had a rain date picked, and we saw, like, no precipitation. Great. But 90-degree temperatures, not great when you're having an 8-hour outdoor show with people dancing and stuff. So we ended up splurging on ways to keep people safe. We got 2 extra, like, overhead tents to provide shade. We bought 400 water bottles and tons of bags of ice and had residents bring coolers from home and just gave out all the waters for free. We literally couldn't give them all out because we were like just handing them out. If you're moshing, stay hydrated. We got like a fan misting station for people to cool down in.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
We just had the...
It was all the way across from the treasure booth.
Oh, yeah.
And then the snow cones, and we had ice pops and freezers if we ran out of snow cone stuff. So definitely, like, do not want anyone passing out, getting hurt, getting dehydrated. Very big worry. So, but we with all the prep that we put into it, it paid off because everyone was safe and not too hot. So
That's nice to hear that safety was the number one priority.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Especially with setup, because we have like, there's so much stuff we have to carry outside, including like our giant stage, which probably on always like, I don't know, 200, 300 pounds, but we break it up into parts, but it's still physically taxing. So we did have one guy who was like, said he was feeling the heat, so we sent him to Brower, get some food, drink some cold water, stay in the AC.
The old med station.
Yeah. Brower will do you some well.
yes. So as the organizers of the event, would you guys say that you actually get to enjoy the event, or is it hard to really get to sit back and enjoy it?
It's not that you're not enjoying it, but being very focused doesn't kind of pull you away from like being in it. It's still very much enjoyable though, like especially after the fact, reflecting on it, thinking about it, just seeing how it's going. Like the success of it is enough to just kind of make it like enjoyable on its own.
Yeah, very fulfilling. With the strike happening the week of it, the strike literally ended or was suspended as we were piling everything back into our tiny closet in the basement. Like, it was perfect, like, movie timing for us. Strike starts Sunday night. I spend my whole week on Demfest, and it's over as soon as Demfest is over. But with that, with how much prep we put into it, it can be extremely stressful, but also very, very fulfilling at the same time. With the thing with the sound and Rutgers permissions issue that Ricardo mentioned earlier, it was a very stressful day for like a good hour and a half there. But after that, it's a lot of like, it kind of just runs itself a little bit because every band knows like, oh, we're on at that time, cool. We're set up, we go on stage, we play a good set, and we give it over to the next band. And so many of the bands that we're playing are like either good friends of mine, or in some of them, or like cool people that I've met a couple times, and it's just a pleasure to see them. And like I said, I kind of got to pick all my favorite bands. So while I'm like running around like crazy, I also get to stop and enjoy the music. So
I think for me, it was just like, again, the payoff for me. So there was a point where I was manning everything from the back, and I think we were running for like 2 hours at that point. And it was the first time that I actually stepped away and actually got a break for a moment, just to kind of enjoy the show on its own. And then it was we had the snow cone machine set up. I got one of those. Really, at that point, we had like basically run out of material, and I had to go like reload. But I was eating it, and then as I stepped away, I was like, this is incredible. This is incredible just seeing it just like go, even though I stepped away for like 5 minutes. And I was very worried the entire first 2 hours. I was thinking the moment that I leave this was going to crash. And then I leave to go get food. I leave to go take a shower. And then I'm like, this is very nice. This is very fulfilling to just see it in progress.
Awesome.
I like, we do it in like the courtyard of our building, which is shaped kind of like an uppercase E with no little middle piece. I guess the middle piece is where the stage is.
It's like a bracket.
Yeah. But you can go up the building, and going up to the second floor lounge and like just leaning out the window and kind of looking at the whole thing in front of you was also like a really fulfilling, cool moment.
Great. Well, that's it for this episode of The Big Show. I want to thank our guests for coming on and congratulate you guys on throwing such a big fest, and good luck to throwing next year's fest.
Of course, gonna go strong. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.